today we're going to interview Lissy Ann Puno. She's the author of this really interesting book. It's called, come on Lissy.
Affairs Don't Just Happen. Protect, Repair, and Recover.
Yeah. Well, for you friends out there, Lissy was my batchmate in Ateneo.
That's right.
Yeah. And you know that I owe it to you this regular Friday. I don't know if you recall, I attended one of your talks. And then that was a time when Marvin and I were feeling guilty about leaving our kid and going out still on Fridays as we used to do when we were boyfriend, girlfriend. And then I asked you that question and then you said, no, you should. You owe it to your children.
Yeah. And the reason why I made that statement is because I said happy couples make happy parents. And I think we always think that we should constantly be with our children, which is the parenting style of the 80s.
Yeah.
But then,
that's right.
Yes, and now, so it was child-centered because we wanted the child's self-esteem to be really protected. But now the shift is parent-child centered. Okay. It's the connection between the parent and the child that really helps in parenting.
Yeah. So, you know, Lissy has been in the business. Tell us about your credentials. Make yaba even so on a Harvard thing there at the back of your book.
You know what, as you mentioned earlier, we are batchmates. So I graduated from the Ateneo in 1985 with an AB degree in psychology, while you were with my husband in economics. Yes. And
Francis.
And after that, I tried working in the corporate world and soon enough realized it wasn't for me. And so I went to the United States to do a master's in counseling psychology. And after I got the master's degree, I got a 1-year clinical fellowship in Harvard University. It might be interesting for your viewers to know that my initial specialization is really in children and teenagers. And the early years of my career focused really on children. And I continue to do so now.
That was the time you were not a mom?
Yes.
All right.
And I have to tell you that after being a mom, and we are mothers of boys.
Yes, both of us don't have
only
girls.
So we only have sons. And after I became a parent, I changed a lot of things in the parenting workshop that I'm giving. I've met many people who say, I've heard you talk about parenting, and I said, oh, things have changed. A lot have changed. Yes. But my work has now added couples. And
which is the very foundation really of a good family.
Right. And I tell a lot of parents the critical ages is 7 to 12 years old when children are modeling us and really watching us, what we say, what we do, and all those things. But it's really living in Thailand where marriages are quite challenged that I decided to work with more couples. Because at that time, Thailand as a country might not have been an easy place to live in because of language difficulties, also because of the traffic, working conditions, and so it was necessary that couples were to be supported.
Okay.
Yes.
So I remember in 2011 when my first book was launched.
Yes.
It was Francis who told me, Rose, you better convince your friend to...
We love your book. We've given it to so many friends. We've used it in so many ways, having voiced ourselves, and yeah, it was
and here it is, finally.
And finally, what pushed me to do it is now being an empty nester.
Okay.
So now these boys that we are talking about are in university.
Yes,
and now as parents, we have more time. And this is what I tell couples. Things change. You focus on each other, you focus on the children, go back to each other, and then the self.
It's very important that you're also conscious what stage you're in.
Right. Because, you're evolving.
Yes.
So, we're dynamic people, and if we don't grow with our marriage, then it will be quite difficult.
Usually when I have conversations with friends, I'd always ask, who is that dream person you'd like to take out to dinner with, so you could have a great conversation. Now, if I may just tweak the question a little bit, who is your dream couple to counsel?
Okay. Well, I haven't really maybe thought about that question, but interesting for me maybe would be a couple that I could work with who maybe are eager to make changes in their relationship, only because maybe of years of challenges that they might have had. I love working with couples who might have had childhood issues that they need to work on, because it's interesting to lay out the map in front of that couple and for both of them to have an aha experience that this is what's been happening to them and to be filled with discovery.
Yes. That's
So
the
I'm not sure.
reward, you know,
Yes,
when you say,
yes.
oh, wow.
So I'm not sure if I can name a dream couple, but maybe you have a suggestion.
Yeah, maybe let's just have a make-believe game here. Supposing Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie approach you, Lissy.
Yes. Well, they're quite. There's so much. They're in the news right now.
That's right. That's
Because
right.
of the recent announcement of a possible breakup or a confirmed breakup.
Which was quite a surprise for everybody, if you noticed.
Yes.
Because I don't know if you saw that Facebook post, which sort of became viral, how Brad Pitt just tried to love her, and then finally she saw what was lovable in her. Did you ever see that?
I didn't, but that makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, I maybe followed them when the Jennifer Aniston issue was happening.
Are you with Kat Jen?
I know, I'm sorry, but yes, I
Same
am.
here. Yes, same here.
So yes, I mean, I know that showbiz, Hollywood is quite different, but let me just explain that that thought that you
Yes.
just brought up. So we're attracted to the person who represents an imago in our mind, an image in our mind, and these are made up of memories of people from our past.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they are either different or familiar.
Okay.
So if you are coming from a very loving and affectionate family,
Mhm.
you might look for that in your partner. And if you are in a dysfunctional or in a hurtful kind of family, you might really want to stay away from that. Or you might actually look for the same pattern
Unconsciously.
unconsciously. Okay? So I'm imagining that
Yes.
Angelina might have had some void that Brad Pitt filled up.
Okay.
Okay?
When you said void, what
An
came to
emptiness,
mind?
yeah.
What came to mind was the dad. But John
Yes.
Voight.
Yes, yes.
Oh, anyway.
Yes. So I'm trying to recall her relationship with her dad.
Mhm.
But if there's something missing there, nurturing, attention, affection, that now Brad Pitt gave to her, that hook or that engagement will happen instantaneously, like a romance,
Did,
which
right?
happened,
Yeah.
right, during the set of their movie.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yes, yes. And so that's what I have in mind about them. But later on, as you said, Angelina discovered the love for herself, which Brad showed her.
Yes.
But so the need for Brad is now gone.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that is what happens. You're initially attracted to someone who fills in a need. But when that need is fulfilled, then the tendency is to say, oh, I can do it now for myself. And so you need to be aware of that so that you can continue to create a curiosity between the two. Yeah.
That is why, essentially, it's really love is a decision.
Yes.
If you remember in Fido, was that Fido or Theo? Love is an act of the will.
Right.
It's not
Right.
feeling.
It's from the
You know, it's
author.
really struck. Huh?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's from
stuck.
It's
stuck
from
with
the
me.
author Scott Peck. Yeah,
Yes.
love is a decision, and it's not easy because love is a feeling initially. Feelings change,
Yes.
and when they change, we need to work on it through action so that the decision could be supported.
And it's a daily choice
Daily,
that you make.
daily. In fact, I tell couples every day it has to be intentional, and there's only one intention, and that's to connect.
You know, sometimes when some couples listen to that kind of advice, it has to be daily intentional. They feel that it's something tiring and boring to do. I mean, tell them how can you work around that so that it's not
Yes.
tiring and boring.
Yes. Well, one of the things I mention in the book is a feeling of being cherished. Yeah. That it's a song, right? Cherish. Now, when you cherish someone, that person is the most important to you. And therefore, you would always be curious and interested with that person. And so it wouldn't be a chore if the intention is to love. And if the love is not demanding, but freely given, then it wouldn't feel like a chore.
So, Lizzie, are you saying that when it becomes a little bit too heavy,
Yes.
does that mean that
You mean if it's too demanding?
yeah, I mean, if it's nakakapagod.
Nakakapagod. Yeah. I mean, nakakapagod like physically or the effort. The effort. So for me, the way I explain that to couples is that if it becomes too challenging, too difficult to love the person, is it because the love language that the person needs is not your own.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So
So
remember,
it's going back to the reason
yes,
again.
we're attracted to something
Alright.
different or familiar.
Yes.
If you fall in love with someone who's different, eventually that person will be nakakapagod. Because the difference doesn't come naturally
Yeah,
to
it's
you.
very effortful.
Yes, so example, you come from a family that's loving and affectionate. You're constantly hugging and kissing each other. Now you've had too much of that.
Yes.
So now you're attracted to someone who's a bit laid back.
Yeah.
Eventually,
The novelty at the start.
hahanapin mo rin yung familiar. So, why don't you hug me? Why don't you kiss me? Why are you not affectionate? Your partner saying, you didn't need me to be that way. And now that partner will have to learn how to give this need somewhere in the disillusionment stage.
Which comes to mind because there are some couples who are they're okay, happily married, but they would say that we're not PDA, public display of affection.
And that's fine.
But there was one time when we were talking to a couple who said that well the guy used to be but not anymore, but that's fine with me because I'm not. Is there really such a girl who doesn't like to be
Yes.
to be wooed?
Yes. Oh, to be wooed. Yes. So a lot of people maybe.
It's very hard for me to imagine.
Well,
because I love being wooed.
No.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. No, see, because it comes naturally to us to have that need because it's familiar to us.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I know you have a very close relationship to your parents, so I know that you're used to it.
Yes.
And so,
I see them.
yes, and so when your
Express.
husband gives it to you, it's familiar. But there's some women who've had quite a distant upbringing. They're not used to it.
So it's
Some children grow up being under the radar. They don't want to be noticed. So if they're with a partner who's giving them attention, oh, it's too much.
Yeah. So you really have to understand each other.
But the statement of this woman that you encountered could also be a defense. When she says, oh, it's okay. Anyway, I really don't want it. I hope she's genuine and sincere in that awareness. But if not, then that's an unmet need that could be frustrating her. And she should tell her husband, remember when we were this way? I hope we could go back to that. Or she can be the one to initiate.
Yeah.
Hold his hand, put her arm around him.
There's a lot of people, they say that, oh, you know, in our culture, it's not like that, you know. But somehow it really, because in our experience, it's the thing that sort of adds spice, or if you want to be healthy about it, the vitamins to really sustain your marriage.
Right.
It's the killing moments, the FriDates, and you know, sometimes there's this, I don't know if that's hormonal. When you listen to the music of your time, you feel more in love, right?
Yes. And you know, I tell a lot of couples that put yourself in the disposition of loving and cherishing each other. I mean, it doesn't have to cost money. It could be a thought, it's a message that, you know, can bring you closer. And I mean, the needs of men is to be with an attractive spouse. The need of a woman is to receive affection. So if you're aware of those things, then you know you could give it to each other.
So we have to be always attractive. That's what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, hygiene, good grooming, and you know there's some women who
your health,
right. I mean, there's some people out there, men and women, who need support, just to feel good about themselves. It's not only the physical, but also what you feel from within. And that's why one of the ingredients of my book is called being centered. And that means you're taking care of the self, the I, and just really maintaining all of that.
Yeah. You know, when we had that book launch and you gave this really nice short talk, what really struck me was when you said that 86% of couples who suffered from having an affair, either party, still can recover.
Yes.
Tell us more about
Yes.
that.
So maybe let me backtrack a little bit to say that 60% of marriages could be tempted to go astray.
Wow, that's huge, huh?
And during that time, and yes, so if you just look at the divorce rates in terms of countries, it's just getting really higher and higher. And then,
We have a figure here, the separation.
you know, the Philippines wasn't in the list. It wasn't in the list.
Yeah, because we don't record it.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can be
But
fooling around.
you know what? I
Yeah,
think though that we could maybe get some statistics on marital annulments.
okay.
Annulments
But
from
that
the
one is
church.
low because a lot of people just settle to be separated because
Right.
of the cost of
Yes,
it.
and
Is
the
that
length
right?
of time.
Mm.
In the length of time. So in other countries in the region, a Catholic annulment takes 3 months, and it's really
Right?
maybe 1/8 of the price. Yes. So I hope that the Philippines could be aware maybe of that issue that happens in our society. So 60% of the marriages may be tempted
So you're
to go
saying that
astray.
60% is susceptible. So we
Susceptible.
shouldn't be that arrogant and say, we're fine, we're fine. So
Yes,
you're
yes. It's to really be vigilant and attentive. And then the certain period of the marriage, which I mentioned before, the 7th year to the 15th year, you're the most vulnerable.
Yeah, I like what you said about the romance.
Yes. And then dissolution.
18 months up to
Yes.
7.
Yes. And then this vulnerability period is from the 7th year to the 15th.
And that's why we call it the 7-year itch. Right?
Yes, exactly. But unfortunately now it's a 3rd-year itch. It's
my
the
gosh.
2nd-year
The
itch.
attention is really getting shorter and shorter.
People are really coming sooner to say we're bored, we're lonely, it's dull. And this is coming much sooner than we expected. And at that point, when that happens, 80% will be tempted to leave the marriage.
So it's 80 of the 60.
Yes, yes. So we want to
Who would
hold
that?
on to them. We want to hold on to them and really try to bring them back into a place where they could think of their marriage again as something fulfilling. And if we do, and if we can, in terms of our work, then 86% could recover. So it's a high number.
So for those who are watching out there, who feel that there is something wrong but just could not articulate, sometimes it's a case where in one party is not cooperating.
Right.
Can you give us the signs that this is still a marriage worth saving?
Right. Okay. And maybe I want to highlight the top 3. Okay.
Okay.
So if you can remember what you fell in love with in your partner,
Go back.
yes, the qualities, go back to that, right? And in fact, one of the interesting homeworks I give my couple clients is to bring out the old pictures. Look at it. Look at it. Remember it. And, just
Remember
bring
each other with a narrower waistline,
Yes,
more hair.
exactly, and image that person. The second one is if the couple is available to do things together. Okay, so the quality of the connection or the time spent with each other, just shift it a little bit. Just shift it a little bit. Do something more. Right. So if both you and your partner are willing to do that, maybe the marriage is just needing a little boost or a little jolt. Yeah? So if you can remember what was loving, excuse me, if you're willing to do things together, and third, if you're willing to dialogue and communicate in a deeper level.
But it's not in your top list. What about the children?
The children who might be affected,
Yes.
well, they are part of this family unit, and they should really be considered. I know that people have had mixed thoughts and feelings about that.
About using the children as the reason to still keep the
Right,
marriage.
right. And what I tell parents this is that if the relationship is just so dysfunctional that you're actually going to affect the children developmental stages, then sometimes those marriages really need to end because you are in the world of people molding. And if you're going to damage other lives, then maybe you could be a more loving parent away from the dysfunctional relationship. And I've seen that happen in separated couples, in new blended families. Maybe there's another way to raise them in a way that's more functional.
More peaceful
Yes.
for everybody.
Yes.
And in our finance talks, we would always encounter the statistics that 7 out of 10 marital problems are really about money. So, what have you encountered in your counseling?
Yes. There are lots of people there who, well, I guess I'll talk about the extremes. 2 don't manage their finances well, or they're a lot of financial resources that they are, it gets between the relationship. Okay, so it is a big issue. In fact, I do mention it in the book about financial intimacy. That this should be.
That's great, financial intimacy.
Yes. I wish that they could do this premaritally so they could prepare their values on how they want to handle finances. But some people think, oh, we don't have to talk about that. But
Which
unfortunately,
is so wrong.
you do have to prepare for it because you don't want it to get in the way. But a lot of marital struggles, a lot of marital issues, the financial issues will be the third top stressor. Yes.
And the top two are?
The top two are, of course, psychological conditions that come between the couple. Yeah. And then, of course, extramarital affairs. Yeah. So it's temptations, a lack of connection, and financial difficulties, which I think I'll put under. It could go under two umbrellas: financial intimacy and crisis intimacy. I hope they won't reach a crisis because of their financial resources. Yeah.
It's very interesting. In the book, you also have the different kinds of affairs.
Right.
And there is one interesting affair there that caught my attention, the social media
Yes.
affair.
Yes,
Tell us
social
about that,
media. Yeah,
Lissy.
social media affair is so rampant.
Tell us how it
Um,
goes on and how it's
So let me tell you maybe one case.
Mhm.
Okay, so this woman didn't have a Facebook account,
Okay.
so she was quite naive about
How
social
old?
media. She was about 42 maybe, yeah. And then she was having lunch with some ladies, and the lady said, "Hey, you're not on Facebook." And she said, "No, I'm not. I don't use Facebook." And they said, "No, we can't allow that." Right at that moment, they opened
They
a
opened an
Facebook
account
for her. And they said, "How about your husband?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know." Okay? And they said, "Well, let's look at his name." So they plugged in his name and unfortunately found that the status said in relationship with someone else.
Really?
And there were photos.
Of the two of them?
Yes. And so technically the affair was found out through Facebook. But a more simpler example maybe is this. You can easily find your high school sweetheart on Facebook.
There you go.
And you send an innocent message.
Yes.
Because affairs are not planned.
I know.
And so you send a message.
Yeah, let's say that again. Nobody plans to
Yes,
have an
affairs are not planned.
Yeah,
They
just
don't
exactly.
intentionally really seek an affair. It is a coincidental, accidental meeting of needs that really bind these two together.
Okay, let's go back to your social media.
Yeah, the
affair.
social media.
So, you see your high school?
Yes, and you send an innocent message like, "Hi, hope all is well," right? And then of course you posted your best picture. And that person would say, "Wow, you're looking great. You haven't changed."
Photoshop pala.
Right. And what happens there is if there is a need within you to just get a little attention, a little affirmation, "Wow, that felt good." So you send another message that says, "You're looking good yourself." Okay? Now you don't know that you might have met a need that your high school sweetheart is needing. And now there's an instant connection. And then you just continue. The next night you do it again. The next night you do it again. You don't realize that your spouse is waiting for you to give them attention. So anything, excuse me, anything that takes you away from your spouse could be under the umbrella of infidelity. But I call it an exit. Anything that exits you from the marriage. Excessive training for a marathon. Church volunteer work.
See, even
Your
those
work.
with good intentions.
Good intentions, noble intentions. Yeah? And they're good, but let's not allow it to take us away from our marriages.
Okay. So, what do you suggest? How do you protect? Social media. Sometimes you feel it's just so. What do you call that? It's not dangerous. It's very. What do you call that? It escapes my mind.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
It's not, you're not really hurting anyone, maybe is what you think. But one, it's taking away time.
I have this analogy about the missing 10%. If there is something missing, for example, in a relationship, that 10% is what you go out looking for. And then you're willing to risk the 90% just to bring up that 10%.
Right. And
which
that
is not good in terms of risk management.
Yeah, and that 10% begins to grow, and you now start to convince yourself that the 90% is not as good
Yes.
or not good enough.
Yes.
Yeah? And so that's how it is. And well, I have another analogy that
Okay,
might be
go.
interesting for you. In Singapore, of course, you know maybe that the banking world or the finance world is so active.
Of course.
So working with them, the analogy I give them is this: when you're in a relationship or in a marriage, you open an account and you make the biggest deposit and investment ever in your life.
That's right.
And then you think it's safe and it's secure. But then you have fights, you're distracted, you have arguments, and it slowly takes away from that investment.
Yeah, the
You
balance
don't,
goes down.
yes, and then you don't realize that the account is now empty. So when couples come to me, it's either one, they don't want to reinvest, they just want to close the account. Because it's easier
Perfect analogy.
to open a new one. And I tell them, no, let's just make a reinvestment first. And my book hopes to help couples think about that. Reinvest in your relationship constantly.
Which brings me to our next discussion. I'd like us to now focus on the protect part.
Yes.
Because this book, even if it might be very difficult for you to give your friend because he or she might say, why? But this is really about protecting
The marriage
your
and your
marriage.
relationship.
It's always better to know what we are capable of doing because sometimes we just say, yeah, hindi ako yan.
Yes.
We're safe.
Yes.
But, the 60% is quite alarming.
Right.
So let's now focus on the protect.
Yes, I think simply I want to highlight 4 things under protect. It's in chapter 9. There are 8 qualities, but I'd like to highlight the first one, which is to care.
Care.
Constant caring, daily caring through little things. And I tell my couple clients to have 5 1-minute connections with each other. When you wake up, upon waking up,
Alright.
1-minute connection. You look at each other, you hug each other, or just say a word before you leave for work.
Another minute.
Another
You
minute.
have to put that in your schedule.
Yes, but it's only a minute, no? But why is that thought just before you leave for the day to connect for a minute? Because this is the image that your partner will
That's the
take.
baon.
Yes, will take of you throughout the day. So if you were not ayos,
Oh, wow.
or if you had
I'm
an
still sleeping
argument,
sometimes.
they might have that image of you. Yeah? And so that's what I tell them about constant caring. The second one is, of course, regular dates.
Yes.
Calendar.
I subscribe to
Yeah.
that.
Daily 30 minutes of a connection. Weekly dates with each other and with friends who
Yes.
support your values.
Yes.
I can't stress how couple friends are so important. And then, of course, family
It's very
time.
rich, right? Like you get insights from each other.
Yes, so family time. So there's a sample calendar in the book. I hope they can check it out. So that's care, calendar, communicate. Yeah, not only about the children,
Yes.
but a lot about other things.
Your dreams. You shouldn't stop sharing your crazy dreams with each other.
Yes. So I think these top 3 that I've mentioned: care, calendar, communicate. Okay, and then there are other C words that I put there, but I'm going to add this 4th one, which is a word I love to use right now, which is curious. Curiosity.
Yes.
Stay curious. Like, be interested.
Interested. Yes.
Not only with what you're talking about, but sometimes even with a look. I like my couples to do 20-second gazes towards each other. Just really that eye-to-eye contact. It's like I'm looking at you for the first time. And it just really makes it a meaningful connection. Of course, I also ask them to hold hands, and that 20 seconds, they just really feel the love for each other.
And can you imagine what a better world this would be if couples are really keeping the vows that they. I always tell people who just get married, you have to remember how you feel for each other now.
Yes.
Which are saying your vows.
We want to wish all couples, right, a long-lasting, committed, secure relationship.
I wonder what Francis does when you try to psychoanalyze him.
You know what?
Does he find it difficult to be married?
When I come home, I'm a wife. Right? When I come home, I'm a wife.
Okay.
And except for maybe questions like, how are you feeling?
Mhm.
Which men don't like. And he said, do you have to ask me that all the time? So I'm listening for what he needs too. So yeah, we've been married 27 years. It's been a great 27 years, and it's nice to celebrate, you know, our relationship.
Milestone. We both celebrated our
Yeah.
silver, right?
Yeah, and you know what? The year we celebrated our silver, many couples did. And I'm so happy to see them, post their pictures in different ways, celebrating
Yes, yes.
that milestone. And I want to share something I said in my celebration. We had a simple one just with family. And a very knowledgeable Jesuit told me,
Who is this?
Father Dakanay.
Okay.
He said, birthdays we celebrate all the time. But even if you go to bed, the next day it will be your birthday, right? But an anniversary, for it to be celebrated, two people would have had to choose to make it happen,
That's right.
right? And so he said, anniversary should be celebrated.
No.
Because most of us celebrate birthdays,
Mhm.
but anniversaries are actually quite special for two people. Yeah, so we wish them many anniversaries ahead.
Yes, many, many anniversaries. Your parents have been married for
55 years.
55.
And my in-laws as well.
The same.
Yeah.
You know that my parents just celebrated their diamond
I
wedding.
know, I saw it, and such a nice, touching event to see a family that come together that way.
It's hashtag marriage still works, right?
Really? Oh, that's nice. That's wonderful. And I hope that through the book, more marriages will go all the
Yes.
way for
This
the
is-
long haul.
This is really highly recommended. You know, if there's one word that I'd use, one Tagalog word that I'd use for it, it's really siksik. It's really the work of love of Lissy.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
these decades, everything is here. So whether you're happily married or you're having challenges right now,
Yes.
this is really the book that you should get and read together with your spouse and really make it work, because this, for me, a good marriage is really the foundation of great kids to be raised, successful careers.
Yes.
Because if you're bothered by something at home, how can you focus on being the CEO or the CFO of this and that?
Yeah, I mentioned being in a good relationship is good for your health.
Mhm.
It helps you live longer.
Yeah, the Harvard
Yeah,
study,
it's
right?
good for creativity, productivity. Yeah, it's good for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, any parting words, Lissy?
Yeah, well, my parting words is to,
Okay.
to really just share with them that a loving and healthy marriage is an option for everyone. Marriages don't just fall into place. If it is attended to with the right ingredients, it would be ready for the long haul. And that is what I wish for everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.